United States Grand Prix has become a staple of modern Formula One ever since its return in 2012 to the Circuit of the Americas, Austin, Texas, the heart of racing. But there's no denying it's not always been that way. And it's only now, with an American team on the grid, an American race back on the calendar, and in our digital techie modern world, that Formula One is finally reaching the American audience it's been looking for. It also helps that Formula One's owners are now Liberty Media, an American broadcasting company. But today, in our brand new series, we're going to be taking a look back at the history of the American Grand Prix. It's not always been straightforward, and don't you worry, we will be talking about 2005, we will be talking about the West US Grand Prix, Vegas, Dallas, you name it. So sit back, relax, subscribe if you're new and you're feeling generous. I hope you enjoyed today's video. Welcome to a brand new series. Welcome to the history of the United States Grand Prix. There's no easy place to start with the US Grand Prix history. Logically, you'd say, well, Dan, you start with the first ever race. It's not quite that straightforward. The first ever official US Grand Prix was before Formula One even started, and I think for this series going forward, I don't really want to do that. The first ever official race in the US was in Savannah in 1908, but Formula One started in 1950, so the first official Formula One race in the US was in 1959 at Sebring. But hang on, we also had, between 1950 and 1960, one of America's most famous racing events, counting not only in the Formula One Championship, but also towards the World Championship points. Can you guess what that event is? Okay, maybe not that one. Yes, it was the Indy 500. So between 1950 and 1960, for 11 races, 11 Indy 500s, the points in those races counted towards Formula One, which is quite cool, but of course a little bit awkward, because for the majority of those races, most F1 drivers didn't travel over to the States, and also most Formula One teams also didn't travel over to the States, meaning that the Indy 500 race, while it counted towards the Drivers' Championship, did not count towards the Constructors' Championship. So going forward in today's video, I'm not going to be counting the Indy 500. Just for the record though, every single 500 involved in Formula One was won by an American. So there's a little statistic which I think for you American fans will enjoy a little bit later on when we look at American drivers' success in the actual US Grand Prix history. But also just another little thing I think I just need to make clear before we start today's video properly anyway. The US Grand Prix is the official title of races at Sebring, Riverside, Watkins Glen, Phoenix, Indianapolis and Austin. But they're not the only venues of the US Grand Prix. There was also the United States Grand Prix West, which was held at Long Beach, which of course we're going to talk about. There was the Detroit Grand Prix, Dallas Grand Prix, the Caesars Palace Grand Prix. The focus of today's video, pretty straightforward, is racing Formula One Grand Prix in the United States of America. So I'm going to include all of those Grand Prix together, all 59 Grand Prix, but technically only 41 of those come under the official title of the US Grand Prix. All sorted? Lovely. Let's crack on with it. It was a little bit convoluted, the US Grand Prix. So what I've done is create, and this took me a lot of time, so please be nice, I've created this timeline, trying to kind of understand what was going on with the US Grand Prix at the time. So as you can see at the top, we've got our official United States Formula One Grand Prix. Sebring, Riverside, Watkins Glen between 61 and 80. Phoenix between 79 and 81. Indianapolis and Austin, which goes off the screen because we're not quite sure how long it's going to, but it's still in Formula One to this day. We have the West US Grand Prix, Long Beach, which was held during 76 and 83. The Las Vegas Grand Prix at Caesars Palace, which overlaps with Long Beach. And in 1982, we also had a race in Michigan, which means in 1982, we technically had 3 US Grand Prix on the calendar, which is something that I am sure Liberty Media would love and are trying to propose, I suppose, now for the 2022 season, which wouldn't be something I'd be totally against. We'll talk about the future a little bit later on, but 3 races in the US in one season, fair play, 1982. And Detroit went through all the way to 88, but also we had an overlap between Michigan and Dallas, all a little bit convoluted. We've raced in Florida, Long Beach. I love that circuit, a really tight, narrow street circuit. A little bit like Detroit, another circuit in Michigan this time. Super tight, super narrow. Watkins Glen in New York. Indianapolis, of course, for the Indy 500. And now Texas, Austin. We've raced almost everywhere in the United States. But here's some statistics. And here's some that I'm sure some of you American fans might not be too happy about. Officially, in the United States Grand Prix, we have never seen an American winner. Of course, we've only seen 2 Formula 1 world champions come from America, Phil Hill and Mario Andretti. And it's actually Super Mario himself that scored the best ever result for an American driver at the American Grand Prix, which was a 2nd place finish in 1977, the year before he won his world title. This came at Watkins Glen, but also actually won in Long Beach in the same season. So we've had a winner from America in America, but not. This is getting awkward now. I really don't like this. So in the official race, 2nd place is the best. And also in the official race, the best ever result for a team, an American team. This was really interesting to research. It was a 4th place finish in 1968 for the Eagle team. We also had a 4th place by the Shadow team at the American Grand Prix. This was in 1979, but, big but, the team technically weren't American in 79. When they actually came into Formula 1 in 73, they were an American team, but a couple of years prior to their 4th place, they got taken over by a British company. So a little bit different, wishy-washy. We'll go with the Eagle team for the best ever result for an American team. We've also seen points for Formula 1's current American team at the US Grand Prix, but only 1 point from Haas F1 in their 5 seasons in Formula 1, and that came back in 2016, their first ever season in F1, at the hands of the greatest driver of all time, Romain Grosjean. Good boy, Romain. Lewis Hamilton has won the most US Grand Prix of any driver, 2007, 12, 14, 15, 16 and 17, taking his total to 6, 1 more than Michael Schumacher, who won in 2000, 2003, 4, 5 and 6, all at Indianapolis. Hamilton winning all of his at Austin, but also the final race in 2007 at Indianapolis. Graham Hill and Jim Clark have 3 apiece. Jackie Stewart, James Hunt, Carlos Reutemann and Ayrton Senna all have 2 US Grand Prix victories apiece. Again, this is the US Grand Prix. But the big thing, the big story, I mentioned it a little bit earlier on and we've got to talk about it. The US Grand Prix 2005. So we show up for the 2005 American Grand Prix expecting a solid race. We had Trulli on pole in the Toyota, Raikkonen, a title hopeful at the time in the McLaren, in 2nd place, Jenson Button in 3rd for BAR Honda. We had Schumacher 5th, Alonso 6th. It should have been a pretty awesome race, but things didn't quite go as planned. You see, earlier in the weekend, we had Ralf Schumacher hit the barriers during the tight, long right-hander on the actual part of the circuit that was part of the official Indy 500 race. Hit the barrier thanks to a tyre failure. And ultimately, all of the teams that ran Michelin tyres, so in 2005 we had Bridgestone teams and Michelin teams, all of the teams that ran the Michelin tyres were not allowed to race at all. So we only had 3 teams race in the Grand Prix: Ferrari, Jordan and Minardi. And ultimately, to the disgust of the fans, not only at the circuit who paid good money to see a great Formula 1 race, but to the fans at home, all of the teams, all of the drivers did the formation lap, but at the end of the formation lap, Toyota, McLaren, BAR, Renault, Williams, Sauber, Red Bull, who were on the grid at the time in their first year, all came back into the pits and didn't race. So we started the race with teams not even anywhere close to each other on the grid. Michael Schumacher winning what was his only race win of the season. Barrichello leading a Ferrari 1-2. Monterio, I never quite say that one right, got a podium in the Jordan. And Narain Carter-Cayenne, a 4th place, a career best finish, a double points finish for Minardi. It was a pretty dreadful day in the world of Formula 1. Michelin, no way they could stay in Formula 1 after this absolute mess. And ultimately we raced again in 2006, we raced again in Indy in 2007. I really enjoyed that one. Lewis Hamilton winning in his first ever season. It was only his 2nd ever race victory up against Alonso. Awesome race. But we would leave the Indy 500, and it wasn't until 2012 we went to Austin, which still plays host to the race up until 2019. 2020, well, who knows at this point, but it's still on the calendar to this day. And as I said a little bit earlier, I absolutely love it. Designed by Herman Tilke, someone with a dodgy-ish track record of designing Formula 1 circuits, has designed absolute stinkers such as the Sochi Autodrome, Yas Marina in Abu Dhabi, but has also done some absolute bangers of Grand Prix circuits. Circuit of the Americas being a prime example, Istanbul in Turkey, the Bahrain International Circuit, and my personal favourite, Sepang in Malaysia. We don't go there anymore for Formula 1, so my second favourite, definitely the Circuit of the Americas. And the king of modern day American F1 has been Lewis Hamilton, winning 5 of the 8 races at the circuit. The other 3 victories going to Sebastian Vettel in 2013, Kimi Raikkonen in what could be his last ever Formula 1 victory in 2018, and Valtteri Bottas in 2019. So Hamilton hasn't won for a couple of seasons now. However, he has featured on every single podium in every year at the circuit except 2013. And that year was won by Sebastian Vettel in the Red Bull, and his closest challenger, Romain Grosjean, only finished 6 seconds down the road to Sebastian, and it was Mark Webber who got that 3rd place finish. And just to make things even sweeter for Lewis Hamilton at the American Grand Prix, he claimed both the 2015 and 2019 World Championships at the US Grand Prix weekend. It's fair to say he's pretty good at the Circuit of the Americas. So what's next for the US Grand Prix? Well, we're pretty confident this circuit's going to be around for quite some time, which, as you're very aware, I am totally cool with. Love this place. But Liberty Media have made it very clear, not only do they want a 25 race calendar for 2021, pushed back now to 2022, so we'll see how that works out, but not only are they looking to expand the calendar, they're very much keen on expanding their American market. And there's been rumours for several years, and even circuit designs and layouts, of bringing back a Miami Grand Prix. That would see us race outside the Hard Rock Stadium, which could be a really cool event for viewers, but it's something that the local council and local communities are quite opposed to. So we're going to have to wait and see if we ever go and return back to racing in Florida. Of course, the last time we saw that, if you've been paying attention, all the way back in 1983 Long Beach, a circuit, as I said, I would love to return to. And that's your lot for the history of the United States Grand Prix. A little bit longer than expected, but it's a confusing one and it's a long one. So if we discover different countries in next week's episode and future week's episode, hopefully it'll be a little bit shorter. Thank you all very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed another new series on the channel at the moment. Trying to keep things as fresh as possible, and I'm really enjoying it. So thank you for joining me. If you've made it this far and have enjoyed today's video, feel free to subscribe, hit that like button if you did enjoy it. It's really good to let me know if I'm doing things right, doing things wrong, and of course I'd love to know what Grand Prix you would like to explore for next week. Thank you very much for watching. I hope to see you in the next one.